Let's dismantle the New Age sedation that has been pumped into the minds of the masses for the last decade. The soft men of 2026 love to talk about the energy of money. They sit in their overpriced apartments, burning incense and visualizing wealth as if capital were a mystical ghost that only visits those who have aligned their vibrations. They treat the global market like a spiritual playground where abundance mindset is the primary driver of success. This is a deliberate, engineered lie. It is a cognitive pacifier designed to keep you passive, stationary, and waiting for a flow that will never come. The architect knows the cold, hard truth of the 2026 landscape. Money is not energy. Money is a numerical claim on the labor and resources of others. And in a world of hyper-accelerated competition, those claims are not attracted by vibes. They are captured by velocity. In the year 2026, the global economy has moved past the era of linear growth. We are now operating in a high-frequency, high-torque environment. Information, capital, and gray zone opportunities move at a speed that the human brain was never evolved to process. If you are operating with the metabolic clock speed of a domesticated peasant, slow, inflamed, and perpetually foggy, you are effectively invisible to the wealth streams. You are a lagging indicator in a leading indicator world. While you are meditating on your goals, a sovereign operator with optimized biology has already seen the opportunity, calculated the risk, executed the trade, and moved the profit into a hard asset vault. You didn't fail to attract the energy. You were simply too slow to catch the train. The architect realizes that his metabolic rate is the literal clock speed of his entire sovereign system. Think of your brain and body as a server. If your biological hardware is clocked at 1.2 gigahertz because you are fueled by industrial seed oils, refined sugars, and a sedentary lifestyle, you cannot compete with an architect running at 5.0 gigahertz. The high-velocity operator sees patterns in the chaos that look like white noise to the slow man. He can process 500 pages of a complex, multi-jurisdictional legal structure, identify the alpha gap, and sign the contract before the soft man has finished his second cup of overpriced, mold-contaminated coffee. This isn't about IQ or luck. It is about biological throughput. It's about how much data your nervous system can handle before it crashes. You must understand the physiology of execution. Procrastination, hesitation, and analysis paralysis are not personality flaws. They are metabolic failures. When your mitochondrial output is low, your brain lacks the voltage required to overcome the activation energy of a difficult task. Every high-stakes decision requires a surge of neural energy. If your cells are decharged and inflamed, your brain will protect you by making you avoid the work. You call it laziness, but your body calls it energy conservation. The architect doesn't fight his willpower because he doesn't need to. He keeps his biological voltage so high that action is his default state. He doesn't try to work. He is a value-generating organism that cannot be stopped. The energy of money is actually the efficiency of transformation. Capital is attracted to frictionless environments. In 2026, friction is caused by your own biological drag. Every time you hesitate because of brain fog, every time you panic sell because your cortisol baseline is too high, and every time you lose a day to financial burnout, you are leaking cap. You are a high-resistance circuit. The money flows around you to find the path of least resistance, the operator who is cold, fast, and constant. The architect optimizes his metabolic velocity to become a superconductor of value. He removes the inflammatory resistance from his cells, he stabilizes his glucose response, and he hardens his nervous system through cold plunge and high-intensity protocols. He moves with zero lag. Furthermore, we must address the hormonal frequency of the deal. The soft man thinks energy means being excited. He gets hyped for a project. His adrenaline spikes, and then he crashes. This is dirty energy. It is volatile and unsustainable. The architect practices stable intensity. By maintaining an ancestral metabolic profile, he ensures that his testosterone stays high, driving his risk appetite and spatial awareness, and his cortisol stays low, preventing impulsive fear. This is the biological signature of power. In a negotiation, the person with the stable metabolic baseline always wins because they can sit in the pressure cooker longer than the competition. They don't leak stress signals. They are a black hole of composure. They don't vibrate for attention. They resonate with authority. The manifestation industry is a psyop designed to hide the biomechanical reality of wealth. It encourages you to believe while the elite build. They want you you in an alpha wave state of dreaming while they are in a gamma wave state of crushing the market. By 2026, the digital grid has made the dreamers obsolete. If you can't execute with metabolic speed, you are just a user providing data for the owners. You are the product that the fast men are trading. The architect realizes that self-care isn't about relaxation. It's about system maintenance for peak torque. He doesn't take a day off to unwind. He takes a recovery cycle to reload his adrenals. Everything is tactical. The final insult of the energy of money myth is that it makes you think wealth is fair or moral. It isn't. Money doesn't care if you are a good person or if your intentions are pure. Money only cares about velocity and precision. It follows the laws of physics, not the laws of karma. If you can move faster than the person next to you, you get the resource. If you can hold your focus longer, you get the asset. Part 1 is the brutal awakening. You don't need a new mindset. You need a new metabolism. You must stop trying to attract wealth and start accelerating through the obstacles. You must turn your body into a high-frequency transformer that converts time into capital at a rate that terrifies the soft men. In the year 2026, the biological Great Divide is the only divide that matters. On one side are the sedated masses, slow, heavy, and waiting for a vibration that will never come. On the other side are the sovereign architects, fast, light, and powered by mitochondrial torque. They don't pray for abundance. They engineered it through the sheer velocity of their execution. The lights are green. The grid is open. Stop dreaming and start operating. If you aren't moving at the speed of the market, you are just standing in the way of someone who is. Let's dismantle the nutritional lie that has neutered the modern workforce. The soft man thinks he can outwork a bad diet with willpower. He thinks he can eat standard grid slop, highly processed seed oils, refined sugars, and plant-based synthetic proteins, and then crush it in the high-stakes environment of 2026. He is mathematically wrong. Every time you consume industrial seed oils like soybean or canola oil, you are incorporating unstable lipids into your cell membranes. These oils are prone to oxidative stress, meaning your cells are literally rusting from the inside out. This isn't about weight loss. It is about neural conductance. If your cell membranes are rusty, your brain's signal-to-noise ratio drops. You become a low-resolution thinker. The architect calls this a metabolic breach. Your mitochondria, the microscopic power plants inside your cells, are the true lenders of last resort for your sovereignty. In 2026, the cost of cognitive execution has never been higher. Every gray zone trade, every complex negotiation, and every moment of deep work requires a surge of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. If your mitochondria are damaged by systemic inflammation, they will recall the loan the moment you face real pressure. You call it burnout or writer's block. The architect knows it's a mitochondrial default. He avoids the glucose trap because he knows that sugar-based energy is volatile capital. It spikes and then it crashes, leaving you in a state of hypoglycemic irritability. A man who is crashing is a man who makes fear-based decisions. He panic sells because his biology is in a state of emergency. To achieve metabolic velocity, the architect moves his biology to the fat standard. Through ketogenic priming and intermittent fasting, he teaches his mitochondria to burn premium fuel, stored body fat and ketones. This provides atomic stability. Your brain no longer experiences the midday slump. Your clock speed remains constant from the moment you wake up until the moment you execute your final trade of the night. You have achieved energy sovereignty from the grocery grid. While the soft men are looking for their next sugar hit to stay awake in a meeting, the architect is operating on a nuclear baseline. He doesn't have downtime. He has operating time. He is a 24/7 value-generating asset. Furthermore, we must address the voltage of the sovereign cell. Every cell in your body is essentially a biological battery. In a state of peak health, your cells maintain a specific electrical potential. The system of 2026 is designed to decharge you. Non-native EMFs, blue light toxicity from infinite screens, and the lack of physical grounding are all vampires on your biological voltage. The architect implements bioelectronic defense. He uses red light therapy to stimulate cytochrome C oxidase, the enzyme that finalizes ATP production. He uses cold thermogenesis to force his body into thermogenesis, which literally creates new mitochondria. He isn't exercising for aesthetics. He is upgrading his hardware. He is increasing the bandwidth of his nervous system so he can handle more data and more risk without his circuit breakers tripping. We must also talk about nutritional density as strategic capital. The soft man eats for taste and fullness. He eats empty calories, low nutrient, high volume slop that keeps him in a state of hidden starvation. His body is overfed but malnourished. This creates a biological anxiety that he misinterprets misinterprets as financial stress. He thinks he's worried about his portfolio, but his body is actually screaming for zinc, magnesium, and omega-3s. The architect treats his fuel like proprietary code. He eats ancestral superfoods, grass-fed ruminant meat, wild-caught marrow, and organ meats. These are information-dense fuels. They provide the micronutrient building blocks for the neurotransmitters that control your winning instinct. You cannot have the aggression of a lord on the diet of a serf. If you want lord-level returns, you need lord-level biofuel. The mitochondrial dividend is the only tax-free return that the state cannot touch. When you spend 6 months optimizing your metabolic engine, your baseline level of clarity becomes your competitor's peak performance. You start every day at a level 10, while the rest of the world is struggling to reach level 4 through caffeine and desperation. This energy gap is where the alpha is created, while the soft men are managing their burnout and taking mental health days. The architect is simply in flow. He doesn't need to get motivated because his biology is in a state of permanent drive. He has reached escape velocity from the gravity of the common man. He is no longer trying to succeed. He has become a success-generating organism. The final component of fueling the engine is hydration sovereignty. In 2026, the municipal water supply is a chemical cocktail of compliance agents, estrogenics, fluoride, and heavy metals. The architect drinks only structured mineralized water. He understands that water is the medium of information in the body. If your internal fluid is toxic, your neural signal transmission is slow. By purifying his internal sea, he ensures that his neural communication is instantaneous. He is a high-frequency trader of his own thoughts. He doesn't have delayed reactions. He sees the opportunity, his brain calculates the probability, and his hand executes the move in one fluid, zero-lag motion. This is the result of a mitochondrial surplus. Part 2 is the biological hard fork. Stop treating your body as a waste disposal unit and start treating it as a quantum server. The energy of money is just a reflection of the metabolic torque of the person holding the keys. If your engine is weak, your capital will eventually leak to someone with a stronger, faster, and cleaner engine. The lords of the grid want you slow, heavy, and foggy because a foggy man is easy to govern. The architect chooses to be fast, light, and sharp. The mitochondrial dividend is your ultimate sovereign reserve. It is the foundation of your fortress. One part left, the execution velocity and the death of hesitation. Let's define the execution gap. The soft man lives in the space between idea and action. He has a brilliant thought, and then he enters a state of analysis paralysis. He checks the news, he asks for opinions, he visualizes the outcome, and he waits for the perfect moment. While he is vibrating with hesitation, the window of opportunity slams shut. In 2026, the market does not wait for your confidence to catch up. The architect understands that confidence is a metabolic result, not a mental state. When your mitochondria are firing and your testosterone is stable, the gap between thought and action vanishes. You move with zero latency. You don't decide to strike, you are the strike. This is the predator's reflex. In the wild, a predator doesn't think about the hunt. It responds to the signal. In the global gray zone of 2026, the signal is alpha. When the architect sees a jurisdictional shift, a liquidity crunch, or a synthetic labor opportunity, he executes with high torque immediacy. He doesn't need a morning routine to get ready because he is always ready. His biological engine is idling at high RPMs. He has eliminated the neural friction of doubt. Hesitation is the rust of the soul, and it is caused by low metabolic voltage. By increasing your metabolic velocity, you turn execution into a subconscious reflex. You become an automated success engine. Image. No, we don't do that. Pure text, pure pressure. Furthermore, we must address the endurance of the long game. The soft man can execute in short bursts, but he cannot sustain pressure. He gets financial fatigue. After 3 hours of intense work, his brain starts to throttle his performance to save energy. He loses his edge. The architect, powered by his metabolic fortress, maintains peak execution velocity for 16 hours straight. He outlasts the competition. He knows that most alpha is captured in the fourth quarter, the moment when everyone else is tired, inflamed, and looking for an exit. By being the only person in the room with a stable glucose baseline and optimal mitochondrial flow, you win by attrition. You aren't just smarter, you are simply more present than the exhausted masses. The architect also understands asymmetric aggression. The system of 2026 is designed to make you polite and compliant. It wants you to follow the official channels and wait for approval. But approval is a tool of the lords of the grid to slow you down. The architect uses his metabolic torque to bypass the bureaucracy. He moves lives in the gray zones where the rules are still being written. He uses brute force execution to establish his micro-monopoly before the regulators even know he exists. He understands that forgiveness is cheaper than permission. When you move at high velocity, you create your own legal reality. You are the lead bullet that the slow-moving armor of the state cannot stop. We must also talk about the death of the distraction loop. The soft man is a dopamine slave who uses notifications to fill the void of his low energy. He checks out because his brain is too tired to stay in. The architect has neural sovereignty. Because his reward system is wired to the growth of the ledger, he finds the work itself to be the highest stimulus. He doesn't need to take a break to scroll through social media because social media feels like static noise compared to the high-definition signal of his own execution. He has achieved focused dominance. While the world is being ADHDified by the algorithm, the architect is using his metabolic speed to drill deeper into the value core than anyone else. The final component of execution velocity is biological scalability. In 2026, you must use your metabolic surplus to build parallel systems. You don't just work harder, you use your high-velocity brain to orchestrate synthetic labor. You manage the AI agents, you coordinate the gray zone contractors, and you build the automated yield machines. You are the CPU of a massive decentralized empire. Because your internal clock is faster, you can manage more nodes than a soft man. You have achieved cognitive leverage. You are one man operating with the force of 1,000, fueled by the mitochondrial dividend that you earned through discipline. The year 2026 is the year of the velocity great divide. There will be the static class, those who are slow, heavy, and waiting for the energy of money to find them. And there will be the kinetic class, the sovereign architects who have turned their biology into a high-frequency weapon. They don't pray for success. They execute success into existence. They understand that the energy of money is a myth, but the torque of the metabolism is the fundamental law of the universe. Part 3 is the final command. Stop planning to be great and start accelerating into the mission. Your willpower is a lie, but your metabolism is a fact. If you want to own the future, you must own the speed of the present. The soft men will be left behind in the glucose fog, wondering why the energy never reached them. But the architect is already miles ahead, fueled by ancestral density and neural clarity. The grid is open. The metabolic velocity is your key. Turn the engine on. Leave the herd. Execute. End of protocol.